Right, there we go. The bike is finished. It's done. Hurrah. That's been a long job. I don't know when we started it. I don't know. Beginning of this year sometime. So it's been about 9, 10 months, something like that altogether. But the reason it's taken so long is because what we did with the engine, we after finishing take it apart, we have to take absolutely everything apart, all the bearings out, everything, because then we had all the engine cases vapor blasted. And if you're going to have them vapor blasted, then everything needs to come out, all the bearings, every last little bit needs to come out, and that takes a lot of time. And then at the same time, we had the outer cases machine polished by the chrome places that I use. They also do machine polishing. I also did some of them myself, but it's just easier and a lot less messy to get someone else to do it, because machine polishing, you're using a buff, and what happens is little bits of fluff, tiny fibers, little fibers of fluff come off that wheel all the time. And you look around the workshop, and the whole workshop is covered with like a horrible greasy dust, which is the fibers of that mop. So I'd either do it outside or get someone else to do it, because it's horrible. But yeah, so we had all that. We had those done, which took quite a bit of time to get sorted. And then we had the engine rebored. We had the crankshaft reground. The mains and the big ends journals were reground on the crankshaft. And then we put it all together with all new shells, new pistons. We had the rebore on the cylinders, new pistons, new piston rings. Yeah, we had to take all the rocker boxes have to come apart completely so that you can vapor blast them. We put in mushroom-headed adjusters to make adjusting the tappets easier. New valves. Had the valves, new valve guides. Yeah, we had new valve guides and new valves. Then we optimized the valve timing on the camshafts to get the valve timing as near to 150 thou before top dead center. No, 150 thou, is it before top dead center? Or 150 thou just beginning to open. No, 150,000 just beginning to open. And so that's been done, because you can adjust that on the Triumphs, because there's two camshafts. Then we serviced the starter motor, the gearbox. We stripped it. That was okay. Didn't need anything really doing to that. Then we had a primary chain conversion, so that's now it's got a duplex conversion in, so that you can put a new primary chain in at any time, because the original T160, it's got a triplex conversion in. The original duplex two-row chain is no longer available, so now it's got the triplex conversion. Then you can just put a new triplex chain on at any time. The clutch is hydraulic, and it always was hydraulic, so this is the first one I've worked on, and I have to say, yeah, it is good. It's very good. It's incredibly light, and it seems to work well. I was a bit worried that there wasn't enough lift to disengage the clutch, but there is. So it's nice and light. I've only given it a quick run. The problem I got at the moment is the weather is atrocious, so I need to get out on the bike really, at least to give it another little spin round the block. But I can't at the moment because the weather's just so bad. But yeah, they're expensive. But if you do have a big clutch problem, then you might want to consider doing that. One thing though to consider is that they can mask a bigger problem with the clutch. We spent ages redoing all the clutch, and we had it all machined, and new clutch plates, a thicker clutch plate fitted, and an uprated clutch release bearing fitted, which takes more sideways stress. But I think a combination of doing that and this hydraulic clutch means it's very light and it works. But as I say, just fitting a hydraulic clutch may not sort your clutch problems out. I'm not sure, because we did the whole clutch and then it had a hydraulic clutch fitted. New rear sprocket, new rear chain, new rear brake, and pads and so on. New master cylinder, that was a pain to fit. Done little things like mending the kickstart and There was a few bits and bobs around the bike that weren't right. Electronic ignition is already fitted to this bike, so I just refitted it. It's the old type of electronic ignition. That's the Tri-Spark with a box. You can get one now that it fits entirely in the old points cover, so you don't have to have a black box. We fitted a new Motorbat battery. I know this is upside down, but that's MBTX20U, and this one is an HD at the end. Now, I always thought that HD stood for heavy duty, but it doesn't. It stands for Harley Davidson, and that means it's black rather than yellow, because on some Harleys apparently the battery is visible, and of course you don't want a bright yellow battery on your nice sort of cool black Harley. So, look, there is evidence. People say they don't fit. They don't fit. I've got one on my bike, and I've got one on this bike. Look, they do fit. Okay. What else have we done? Probably bleeding the rear brake. Yeah, that's a pain. But we have to have a new caliper fitted, which has got this rather strange stainless hose, which isn't brilliant, to be honest. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to go, but obviously it is quite low to the ground and possibly could snag on something. But I think I've got one on my bike as well, and I've never had a problem with it, because that new rear caliper, it doesn't fit the existing pipe work, so you have to change the pipe work as well as the caliper. We got the original exhaust on. We did have one of the baffles was loose, so all I did was screw from underneath. I put a few self tappers in underneath the silencer, which you can't see because they're underneath the silencer, and there we go, it doesn't rattle anymore. So I'm quite pleased. A simple bit of a bodge fix, but works perfectly. You'd never know the screws were there unless you lay underneath the bike. What else? Yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to start the bike up now just so you can hear it. I'm not going to start it for long because I'm down here in the basement and you don't have to gas yourself out. So I'm just going to give it a quick blast, but just want to show you it all running, and it seems to be all good. We've got no obvious signs of anything leaking or any nasty sounds or anything. So never say, oh yes, it's fine, yes, it's all done now. Never ever say that, because you're asking for trouble. But it appears that everything's good at the moment. So far so good. The only the only worry I've got about this is that it is putting a bit of smoke out the back, and I think that might be because we had the trouble with the carbs and only running on full choke, and that means there's been a lot of unburnt fuel in the cylinders, and that does not. You don't want unburnt fuel in cylinders when you're trying to run a bike in. I'm hoping that it'll settle down, because it only ran it for a very little bit, with obviously on choke, but at the very, very start of starting an engine, that's like the most important time when we had it on choke. So there's a little bit of smoke coming out the back, and I'm hoping that will settle down as it runs in, but that's I'm not sure, and that's the only problem we've got. If it is still smoking after a couple of 100 miles, then the only thing we've got to do, the only way, is to strip the head back down again, put new rings in again, rehone the cylinders and put it all back together again. But there you go. That's the joys of classic motorcycle mechanics. Anyway, there we go. I'll put the camera on the stand, and we'll start the bike. Okay, try and start up. So ignition on. Jolly good. We have a neutral light as well. That's good, because if you remember on this one, someone wrote in and said there is a little adapter that goes on the neutral pin in the gearbox, which I've never heard of. And sure enough, that little adapter sleeve that goes on the pin made all the difference. And now the the neutral indicator works really well. Petrol on. Tickle carbs. Tickle centre carb. Tickle left carb. Right, I'm going to leave no choke because the engine is slightly warm, because I ran it earlier on this morning. Let's see what we got. And that's all I'm going to run. But it does tick over. It does respond to the having the air screws adjusted, and I think we're pretty well adjusted there. If I get the chance, I'll see if I can come down and get in shot. I probably won't. If I get the chance, I'm going to take it out obviously for a run, because I've not been able to so far. But the weather's horrendous. It's either raining, which is what it's doing today, peeing down, or it's freezing and there's ice everywhere and salt, gritting salt, which is horrible. But Monday, I think next Monday coming, it might be a bit dry, and if it's not too, the trouble is, if it's dry, they tend to grit, and if it's not really cold, then it's raining. But anyway, hopefully Monday I might be able to get it out for at least for a little spin around the block at the very least, and I'll do another video then if I do. But there we go, bike finished, bike done, and bike just about signed off. Obviously, I'd like to take it for a little run if I can. Otherwise, it will go back to the owner, and I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with it, and I think he'll be really happy with it as well. It's all been done. It was obviously a bit of a dog of a bike. When I got it, it needed a lot of, the engine was in bits, and the whole bike obviously had a bit, it was tired. It was tired, and so now I think it's good for another, good many years. Just fingers crossed that it's not pumping, burning too much oil. It's not much coming out, but there's a little bit, and I'm hoping that will settle down. Anyway, hopefully, job done.